Hi everyone, so I'm coming on today to talk about what a day in the life of a dark night of the soul looks like and what it feels like. So this comes actually from a comment that somebody made, and they asked if I could do something around this. So what does it look like day to day, and what does it feel like? So thank you, the Delaney Marie. I hope I'm saying that right, but I thought that was a really, really good question, and I thought this may help some of you out there who are going through a really, really tough, dark period. So I don't want to go too much into my story because I have done a separate video on that, but just to give you a very quick overview, I went through what I can only describe at that point was a breakdown. So this would be around 2020, 2021, and it lasted 4 years. It was a really dark time where my life fell apart. It started out with a separation, and then pretty much everything else in my life went in a very short period of time. So I mean all areas of life: health, finances, relationships, work. So everything fell out of my life, and it was a really traumatic time in my life. And I wanted to talk about and try and get across how it felt, because I think that's really important, and it's very hard to articulate even now, to try and get it across in words. And I'm sure if you're going through a dark night of the soul, you're also finding it very difficult to maybe explain to loved ones what you're really going through, and probably you aren't able to really get across what you're going through. And I know I certainly couldn't. So as time ticks on and my memory gets more fuzzy, I really wanted to come on and document that for you today. So I'm going to start with one of the things, and it's really peculiar, but time felt like it was slowing down. And I think this was partly due to the fact I wasn't sleeping as well. So my nights were very long, and then my days were very long that I had to try and get through. But I think when you're not having a good time, time does seem to slow, doesn't it? It felt almost like I was frozen into a really dark time, or frozen in hell almost. You know, it felt like Groundhog Day in hell is probably how I can describe it. So I don't know if that's something you can relate to, time feeling like it's slowed down and you're kind of frozen in a really horrific time, and your nervous system's frozen in fight or flight. So that's very much what I felt. It's kind of hard to get across, but time definitely, a day and nights were probably the worst. Just felt so long and lonely. The other odd thing as well is that my life didn't feel familiar. Again, really hard to describe, but I suppose when everything's ticking along in your life and you have this kind of baseline of contentment, I didn't have that. I didn't have anything to cling to, because everything had fallen in my life. There wasn't even an area that I could say, oh, well, work's really bad or my health's not good, but my relationships are really good, and you can kind of cling to that area, make the best of that whilst working on improving the other parts of your life. But because everything had gone down all at the same time, I felt very lost, and there was no contentment, no happiness in my life, and nothing really for me to have hope around, or something that was flourishing in my life at that point. So hopefully that resonates with some of you and kind of making sense of what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it just felt like it wasn't my life. And I suppose all those years I'd built up designing a life how I thought it was supposed to be, when it crumbled, it is really, really shakes you, shakes the ego, shakes what you think you are as well. And it can make you feel very, very lost and lonely, and like no one gets you or understands you. And you don't probably even have the energy to try and get that point across, because at that point I was so drained and tired. I wasn't sleeping. I just didn't have a reserve. I didn't have an energy, a backup, if you like, or a resource to kind of tap into. at that point. So, but the other thing I felt was some anger as well, some anger around, I felt I'd been abandoned. I felt it was unfair what I was going through because it was so heavy and it all happened at the same time. I thought it was too much for one person to bear. And I'm not religious, but I did spend most of my nights in some kind of prayer or plea or just thoughts on loop. And I hope this isn't triggering, but I'm being very, very honest here and open. I didn't want to be here anymore. So it was very much of, I can't do this is too hard, please take me. I don't want to be here. Either improve my life or I'm going. That was kind of the stance that and the thoughts that were going through my mind. So you can probably see I was in a very bad place, and these were the feelings that I was living with day to day. And then underpinning all that was a lot of fear and anxiety as well. My nervous system was in fight or flight all the time. I felt on the edge of panic a lot of the time. My breathing was all out. So, you know, things like meditating, when people say concentrate on the breath, forget that if you're going through anxiety. I found that just made it worse. I did get into meditation. This is a whole other story. But I used a very different technique because focusing on the breath just wasn't going to work for me while I was in anxiety and panic. So day to day, what did that look like? Well, I'm going to start in the nighttime because the nighttime was the worst for me. That's when I wasn't sleeping, and we all know what it's like if you are sleeping and you wake up and your mind's going, and it's always worst case scenario, doom, doom, doom. Well, it was like that really all night long, frustrated because I couldn't go to sleep. What was wrong with me? Why couldn't I sleep like everybody else? And that would then shift into the morning time, and I'd just think, how am I going to get through today? I've got no energy, I haven't slept, I'm not even barely existing. So, and then as what happens in the daytime, we all have chores and things that we have to do. We have to go to work, sort the kids out, take the dog out, all those kind of things, deal with life. So I did as little as I could, to be honest with you. Anything that wasn't an absolute must had to be put to one side. So socialising was a no-no. I was in no state to socialise, you know, and from that comes a loss of friends. I didn't have any energy to. I knew they weren't going to understand what I was going through. Nothing against them. I just think if you haven't been through it, it's very, very hard to describe it and for people to understand, and hence why I'm here talking about it openly, because you will probably find there probably nobody you can talk to, at best maybe one person or two, and yeah, it's very hard to put into words sometimes what you're feeling and what you're going through. I'm kind of based this on somewhere in the middle of my dark night of the soul, so because I just wanted to get across a few things that had started to change in my routine and my day-to-day living. So for example, when I was up and about, I stopped listening to news, anything negative. I stopped watching dramas or anything like that, so I would just switch on a podcast and listen to something uplifting, and I felt this helped me just to try and gain a little bit of positivity back in my life. Very helpful to go and listen to other people who are going through a really tough time as well, to inspire you, to let you know that life is possible after the dark night of the soul, and you will go on to do great things, because the mind is going to tell you that you're not. So I listened to lots of inspiring stories, and that kind of then got me on to more of a spiritual path and more curious about anything esoteric, anything ancient civilizations, hidden knowledge, all that kind of stuff. So that did help me, but it was a very, very slow introduction to it. And again, I had to kind of build my faith back up. So I got rid of anything negative in my life, and that's people as well, and things that I consume. So my life was starting to look very different. It was still very lonely, and isolating. We were in lockdown as well most of that period, so it wasn't easy to go out and mix anyway. And also sort of added to my feelings of isolation. So I did have some time off work, but when I was going to work, I was just thinking, how am I going to get through today? And I don't really know how I did, but I did. And I just ate when I felt able to, so I'd lost a lot of weight through all the stress and anxiety. I didn't have really much of an appetite, so you might find that's changed for you. I didn't really worry about it. I just knew that my body would balance out when the time was right, and for now I just ate when I needed to, and I didn't have the energy to really be cooking great meals at that time, so it was very much what would cook quickly. So I probably wasn't eating the best, but again, it was just whenever I felt like I could. So eating had changed, what I'm consuming on TV, what I'm reading's changed. My day-to-day life was different, so I would spend it sort of, going within, trying to get past all my dark thoughts. Again, I wasn't socialising, and it was really a period to stop and reevaluate my life as well, because everything was so much up in the air. I was forced to look at the people in my life, the people I'd attracted, what kind of life I'd built, why relationships hadn't worked out. So I was kind of forced into looking at a lot of that stuff as well. I did always make sure I went out though, so I always went and got out to nature. I went for a walk no matter how bad I felt, and it may only just be a quick walk, but I really found little snippets of peace when I was out around the animals. So I'd lost my dog around that time as well, so I was very bereft after that. But I did go and watch, I know it sounds crazy, but I went and watched the local horses that were near me, and started just watching their behaviour and getting to know about them and just standing with them. And that sort of gave me little snippets of times not being quite as awful as they were for the rest of my day. So it was just times when I could just go and be and observe, really, and that did really help me at that time. So that's kind of how my days were changing. So previous to that, I would have done what everybody else would have done, say on their day off, gone out shopping, gone out with my partner, gone out for something to eat, socialise, watch mainstream TV or binge watch stuff, the things that I would say were pretty normal. I spent a lot of time in the city and doing all that kind of stuff then, and that completely changed. I very much wanted to be in the country, I wanted to be in nature. So my day-to-day life was extremely different to what it was before. And with that, of course, you lose people in your life because you're changing so much. But I think really that's probably about as much as I can say, because I was, like I say, I was very much in fight or flight most of the day. So my thoughts were just on loop. I was doing the bare minimum that I could, given my energy levels at the time. So it wasn't a nice place to be. I don't know how else to put it. And if you're going through that right now, I completely understand where you are. And even now it's difficult for me to talk about it, even though years and years have passed. It was a really traumatic time, and I wouldn't want to ever go through it again. So I totally understand where you are. I understand that it's going to change you. It's going to change what your days look like, what's going through your mind at that time, and it's going to change the people around you as well. So a lot of the time you'll find that you'll lose people over that period. So it is a lonely time, and all I can say is I feel that the isolation is very much there for a reason, and it's a reason you're not probably going to see while you're really in the depths of it. But I can tell you now that I can look back, and even though I still don't like the fact it happened and it was highly traumatic, I can see that there was a reason behind it, and it was the start of me going on a totally new path. So I don't want to make this video into you need to do this and that to come out of it and make sure you're doing that. I don't want it to be that, because I actually think sometimes that can make you feel worse, and really all you need is somebody to know that there's somebody else out there that's going through the same thing as you, or been through the same thing as you, and now you can look at them and think, oh, they've come out of it, so I can come out of it. And that's really what I'm here to do, is to kind of be that example of, yeah, I've been there, I've been in the hell, I've been in the depths of darkness, I've been there for a very long time, trust me, but I have now rebuilt my life and come out the other side of it. So if there's anything you can take from today, that's really what I wanted to get across to you. And I'm sure one day you'll be doing something like what I'm doing, and being able to use that really awful time in your life and use it to help others, and help others to realise there is hope out there, and that you can come out the other end. So at the Delaney Murray, I hope that's answered your question, and what it kind of articulated what it feels like. So I think that's very important to try and get across, so that people can go, that's what I'm feeling, I resonate with that, somebody gets it and someone understands. So I'd be interested to know how you're feeling, how you're getting through it. Tell me about your day-to-day, how has it changed from your old life, yeah, and what you're feeling and what you're going through, because that also helps other people. Because I don't know about you, I always read the comments when I watch a video on YouTube. So yeah, please voice it and help others that are feeling really lost and lonely at the moment. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Take care, and I will see you on my next video. Thanks, bye.